The job of St. Bernard Parish President is on the October 14th ballot.
Sabrina Wilson spoke to the candidates vying for the parish's top job.
In St. Bernard Parish, 4 Republicans are vying for the parish president's job. Candidate Carrie Calais is an at-large St. Bernard council member and a managing partner at Calais Ice Service.
I believe that I have the qualifications, the experience, the involvement necessary to do this job, as well as the relationships across our region. For the last 8 years, we've seen amazing progress and success in St. Bernard, and I've been happy to be a part of that. I also believe my community involvement is one of the things that stands out from the other candidates in this race.
Wayne Landry is a former St. Bernard council member and longtime businessman.
I have a degree in public administration. I have 38 years experience as a CEO working with government entities. And more importantly, I'm financing my own campaign, so I'm not going to owe anybody anything. We'll be able to do what's right. We can end a lot of the wasteful spending.
Emil Pelletieri is a contractor who once ran for sheriff.
I have 50 years of doing volunteer work, community service. My goal has always been, and my life has always been, community first. All of my decisions are going to be looked at through that perspective, and everything else follows.
And Luis Pomez is St. Bernard Parish Government's Chief of Field Operations.
To start with, I'm the most qualified person for the job. I actually been working in parish government now since 1981 in a full-time position, serving the people of St. Bernard Parish. I had a great opportunity to work with every branch of government in the past 40 years, running some of the largest budgets throughout government.
On the parish's most pressing problems?
Well, obviously the saltwater intrusion is one of the most pressing issues, but more importantly than that, we have a lot of issues with our fire department.
At this time, it's the Port of New Orleans coming to St. Bernard, the infrastructure that we have, and the quality of life that it's going to destroy. That's one of our biggest problems. Another problem we're having right now is we have this saltwater wedge coming up the Mississippi River.
It always comes down to safety, safe homes, neighborhoods, streets, schools. Drainage is a problem. Need some more recreation projects.
I believe that our drainage funds are going to be important. We have some drainage issues that haven't been dealt with since Katrina. We're going to have to make sure that we're addressing issues with our youth and issues with the drug epidemic that is going across our nation, but specifically as an issue here.
I also asked all candidates what their top 3 priorities would be in terms of things to tackle if elected.
Obviously, the port is a big issue for us. We're going to need to make sure that that is handled in the correct manner. We also need to make sure that code enforcement is addressed. And my priority for the last 8 years will continue as coastal restoration.
I would say port economic development, and the fire department right now is the issue, but there's a whole.
Stop the port project. Safety in the community, with the schools, drainage issues.
Well, number 1 is going to be the Port of New Orleans coming into St. Bernard. Number 2 is we have a little issues with our fire department for fire protection. Number 3 is the infrastructure for our drainage.
Early voting starts Saturday.
So I feel really good with my chances on winning.
We are so excited. The momentum has been building over the last few weeks.
But I think my chances are just as good as anyone else's. I think the people down here know me.
I feel good about it some days not so good. But we're out there, we're pushing for it.
And that was Sabrina Wilson reporting. Again, statewide early voting starts tomorrow. It will run from September 30th through October 7th. And if you're planning to vote absentee, you have until October 10th, but your ballot must be returned by October 13th. Election day is October 14th.